My favorite director of all time really said gay rights. Welcome back everyone to another video. I'm so excited to do this review because as you saw by my previous YouTube video, Knock at the Cabin was my most anticipated film of the whole year and it was out, I already seen it. So I'm really excited that I didn't have to wait that long, and I'm so excited to do this review because I love this film and I cannot wait to tell you the reasons why. Just to keep in mind, this review is going to be divided into two parts, so we're going to talk about the movie itself, spoiler free and with spoilers, and I will let you know when the spoilers are coming up. And like I have done on my previous reviews, we're going to talk about positive stuff, negative, things that I will have changed, and we're also going to discuss stuff like the cinematography, and that includes things like color grading, camera work, kind of shots, what do they mean. Also we're going to talk about the characters, the main characters, the villains, also about the storyline, the plot, the concept, and how it impacts society in general. Knock at the Cabin, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Save your family or save humanity. Make the choice. While on holidays at a remote cabin, a young girl and her parents are taken hostage by 4 armed strangers who demand that the family make an horrible choice to avert the apocalypse. With limited access to the outside world, the family must decide what they believe before all is lost. So to kick off this review, let's talk about this movie without spoilers. I'm briefly talking, I want to say that this concept of this film is very rich. Even though we have kind of seen this concept before, not like so literal, but more or less the same idea, because at the end of the day this is a home invasion. But I do have to say, the way the movie tells the story, the way the narrative is told, that was kind of unique, because we're gonna talk more about that in the spoiler part of the video, because I really want you to watch this movie blind. I don't really want to talk too much on the spoiler free section because, like I said before, I think this movie can be interpreted in different kind of ways. I also have to say that the characters and the acting is phenomenal. Every single actor and actress on this film did a fantastic job. All of them, they have such a strong personality. All of them are so different from each other, from like the little girl to like the big guy out from the strangers. Another aspect that I want to talk about without spoilers is that I think the movie, the pace is so well done, because you will not feel bored at all, at least in my opinion. And I do think the structure from this film is very well done again, because the movie has a beginning, a middle and an end, and we're gonna talk about each part in the spoiler part of the video, which brings me to the final part of the spoiler free section, and it's that I just wanna thank, let's say, M. Night, because he knows he has such a big name in the film industry. I like him so much. He's my favorite director of all time for many different kind of reasons. But I do have to say that finally, it's been a while, and it's been a long while since we had a gay lead couple in such a smooth way on a big budget horror film. This is the way that we can make a change, because obviously gay characters, they can have normal storylines, smooth storylines like straight couples do. So I do really appreciate how fresh this movie was with that. Like, it was so lovely to see that representation on the big screen in such an organic way, in such a rich storyline, where the sexuality or them figuring out who they are is not involved at all. There is no cliches, there is no stupid jokes about being gay at all, like other films do. Bros, I'm talking to you. So yeah, that was the spoiler free part of this video. So from now on, we're gonna talk about with spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop the video, go and support this film ASAP, and then come back to this portion of the video. So to kick off this part, let's talk about the positives. And the positives, like I said on the spoiler free part, is that I love the storyline and the characters, and how well they connected, how well they were interacting with each other. I do have to say that it was so interesting to see this concept and how they were gonna do it without us knowing anything from the first scene that happens, because we think that something bad is gonna happen to this little girl, and then obviously as the movie progresses, we know that it's not about the girl and stuff. Another positive aspect that I have, and this might be negative for some people, is that I like that we don't really see the kills and that we don't really see the apocalypse, because at the end of the day, this movie doesn't want to be a slasher. This movie doesn't want to rely on gore and the kills or the blood, and at the same time this movie doesn't want to be an end of the world kind of film, if that makes sense. And even though those two things are involved in this film, Knock at the Cabin doesn't lean on those two concepts, and I think that was beautiful, because at the end of the day, the main reason why the kills are off screen, or like because we don't really see much of gore, is because the movie wants to give that human touch, and we want to experience what the characters are experiencing just by the look of their faces and the acting, the reactions, if that makes sense. Because if we see the gore, or if we could have seen how disturbing or terrifying the kills were, maybe that would have taken us away from like the human touch. But when it comes to the negative part of this video and the negative things that the movie had, the first thing is, and I don't know if this might be controversial, but I personally didn't like to see Dave Bautista in this movie with this role, because at the end of the day he felt like a bit of comedic because of his reactions, his acting. I'm not a big fan of his acting, I'm really sorry. I didn't feel scared about this guy, or I didn't feel any kind of threats with him on the big screen. I would have chosen another actor that was creepier. For example, James McAvoy. James McAvoy was so creepy in Split, and since M. Night likes to bring back actors and actresses from his previous movies, I think James McAvoy would have been a better choice for Dave Bautista's character. Another thing that I didn't like too much is that some decisions that the characters do, for example, like the main character from the couple, instead of helping his husband, he decides to run to the car, take the gun. In that period, his husband could have been killed. So I personally, I would have, after I escape, I would have helped my husband straight away to kill this guy instead of running to the car. So some decisions made by these characters are kind of annoying. Another, and I think this is the last negative thing that I have to say about this film, is that I do wish that we could have spent more time with the couple and the daughter before everything happened. Maybe give us a few scenes of them on the road to the cabin, and even though we see them in some flashbacks from the characters, I do wish that we could have seen those scenes before everything happened. Maybe that way we will fall in love with these characters before this whole horrible situation happens to them. Now, talking about the cinematography, I loved the cinematography from this film. I think it was very gorgeous. I love how this movie uses a lot of the greens, because obviously they're at the forest. I love there's so many wild shots, especially from the landscape they're in. I also love that even though they are inside the cabin, I love how there are so many wild shots to the strangers, which brings me to the point that I also like the close-up shots, especially to the faces, because that way you will feel threatened, like, because that's the only thing you see at the big screen. For example, at the beginning of the film, I love the communication between the little girl and the big guy, and that was throughout close-up shots and reverse shots. And also the close-up shots used inside the cabin were really clever, because we could see the human touch behind these characters, and also even the human touch with the villains, let's say. I think a close-up shot is one of the best ways to communicate with the film. I think when the films they have a lot of close-up shots, they really want to talk to the audience, because they want to give like feelings or the emotions from the characters, and those can be emotions and feelings from danger, from happiness, sadness, and I think we got all of those emotions in this film. Also, which brings me to the point that the score was beautiful. I love the sound design, especially because of the knocks. They are at the cabin, so you can hear every single sound. I love the breath from the characters. I love how the way the music, it starts to build up on very intense scenes. You really feel it on your bones. Personally, I was really nervous on many scenes because of the score. So I do appreciate how Knock at the Cabin works so perfectly with the storyline and the score. Now, briefly talking about the characters, like I said before, I love the acting from everyone, and every character was very unique. Like for example, the main couple, I love the communication between them. They felt very real, like they felt like they were in love. I love the flashbacks of the characters, the main couple, because those flashbacks really make you think like the characters. Because for example, when the protagonist from the couple, he gets asked if he could save the world and kill his partner, and obviously he says, I will never, because society has turned on me, they have turned on us. And because of the flashbacks about his parents being homophobic, about the homophobic attack he had at the bar, like it makes sense why this character thinks this way. Personally, I think like him, because when you go through that stuff, it really is really hard for you to sympathize with society and the war. Especially because this character thought, if I save the world, I will save homophobia. And I think that's the main reason why this character said, doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter how the apocalypse it is, I will never save the world. The other husband is also very clever, he's also very cute. I love how they communicate with each other, I love how they balance each other, and that's how a relationship is. I love at the end when he's giving the vision to his husband. I got really teary on that scene because it was so sad to see one of them dying. And talking about the villains, I like them, and I call it the villains because of course they are the antagonists, but I did like the way they were because they were really different. They had very unique storylines, let's say. They gave something new to the table of this film. I really like the acting of everyone overall. I love how creepy each of them they were, especially the guy with the red shirt. I think it was very creepy. And finally, I'm wrapping up this review. I just have to say that I loved how this movie makes you think, because this is kind of those situations where you will be, what if I'm there? What if this will happen to me? And honestly, it will make you really think, because imagine if this happens to you, because you just imagine. So finally, and to close this review, I really recommend this movie because I think it's very interesting, very unique in this way. And I also liked how this movie is very rich. I think the script was so well written. I think this movie has a perfect direction from M. Night. And you can tell that this movie had a lot of work behind. So I would really recommend to give this a go. Please support this film at the cinemas. I'm so happy that it's doing big numbers. Like a few days ago, it surpassed Avatar at the box office. So yeah, I'm so happy that this movie is doing well. I cannot wait to see what M. Night is gonna do next. I cannot wait to own this and see the behind the scenes. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. Please let me know what you think about Knock at the Cabin. I would love to hear your thoughts, because I know some people are not gonna like this film, but I've seen some loving it. So I'm really happy that this movie is having good reviews. So let me know if you watched this film. I really hope you have a nice end of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.